Good morning, fellow pilgrims, friends,
Good
and
morning.
neighbors. We are very glad to have you join us this morning for our daily devotional on Tuesday, June the 16th, 2020. We are in the book of Genesis this week again. And I actually decided this week that we're going to stay in the book of Genesis all through the month of July as well. Just the more that I thought about it, the more I prayed about it and looked over the passages, I think it's a good idea for us to go back to the book of Genesis. And one of the things I want to focus on this morning as I read a verse, we're gonna talk a little bit about the Bible and the role of the Bible in our lives. But first, let me read the verses that I want us to focus on. We're in Genesis chapter 21, and the passage this week is verses 8 through 21. And this morning, I want us to focus on verses 10 and 11. So, this is the passage concerning Hagar, Sarah's jealousy of Hagar and her son Ishmael. And verses 10 and 11 are her and Abraham's reaction to Hagar and Ishmael. Genesis 21, 10 and 11. So she said to Abraham, "Cast out this slave woman with her son, for the son of this slave woman shall not be heir with my son Isaac." And the thing was very displeasing to Abraham on account of his son. So these are very difficult verses for us, I think. I mean, it's kind of explicitly showing Sarah to be jealous of Hagar and um, very cruel in her reaction to Hagar and Hagar's son Ishmael. And Abraham is troubled by this in the story. What is also troublesome for us is that he seems to be upset on account of his son, but Hagar, the maid, is not mentioned. He doesn't seem to be concerned at all about Hagar. So there are a lot of complications here in these passages. One of the things that we know in studying for a couple of centuries now, very closely, the book of Genesis, we know that there are different sources, different editors to try to pull these stories together and to make sense of them. And I think it's really important as Christians to understand this about the Bible and what the Bible brings to us. I think a lot of times Christians operate under a delusion about the Bible that is not very helpful. And the delusion is that the Bible just comes to us all as a piece in this sort of perfect form, brought down by God. And, it's exactly as it is. Well, that's just not accurate. I mean, just the number of translations alone should tell us, and all of these people that work on these translations, I mean, these are very dedicated and often very devoted Christian people who are really trying very hard to get the sense of the text right. And so it's really important for us to know this when we're studying the Bible, that in the book of Genesis, for example, and in this particular verse 10, um, we in some of the ancient manuscripts, for example, um, the um, the phrase um, for the son of this slave woman shall not be heir with my son Isaac. Some of these phrases are left out, some are in, and so you have to do a lot of interpretive work. And it becomes obvious too that there were older manuscripts and editors worked on these older manuscripts to try to make them makes sense. Well, all of that is not important in terms of how we live our lives as followers of Christ, but it is important in terms of the role the Bible plays in our lives. And I think it's especially important to note that the ancient authors and then editors that came after that, hundreds of years after that, these were all very devout religious people. That is, they devoted their lives to God and to the sacred text, and they're trying to get things exactly right. But it's challenging and it's difficult. And one of the things that's challenging and shows up in this story is that Hagar is treated very poorly. And it's clear that an editor following this story years later is disturbed by how poorly Hagar is treated. And so there are other passages that are added to soften the effects of this story. Now, I think this tells us a lot. This tells us a lot about the Bible, the fact that it doesn't come to us all as a piece, that within the Bible itself and how it's put together, we can see people struggling with what it means to be faithful to God. And so this is an excellent passage, I think, to help us to see that in the Bible, we find the ancient Hebrews, both in the stories and in how they put this text together. We find them struggling with issues, how to understand God, how to be faithful to God, how to follow God, and how to tell the story of faithfulness. And my sense is I think this should be helpful to us and encouraging to us. The Bible is not some distant book and distant story. This is a story that relates directly to us because this is how we live our lives. This is precisely what we do. We struggle to be the kind of people God would have us to be. We do our best. We try to be faithful, and when we don't do our best, we ask God to forgive us and help us to get back on the right path. And this is exactly what's happening in the Bible here, and in the story, particularly of Hagar, where in some passages she's not even mentioned, ignored, and then other passages treated very sympathetically. And this is a very important part of the story. Well, let's close with this word of prayer. Be near us now, O God. O thou who often stands before us when we cannot see thee, help us to know thee near in the darkness of doubt and fear. Save us from despairing of this age that presses round us with its questions and denials, and help us to see in every difficulty of faith the coming of your Son. Turn us again and cause your face to shine upon us, and we shall be saved. And when we stand within the valley of the shadow, and when we bid a sad farewell to those who journey down its depths alone, or when we ourselves look back for the last time with longing eyes, and then move onward with what hope we may, then let us find what seemed to us a hopeless night, only the shadow cast by an eternal dawn. Amen. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for our daily devotional. I'm Patrick Horn. I hope you have a great day. Goodbye. Hello, friends on Zoom.
Hello, Patrick.
How are you?
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Thanks so much. Beautiful.
Well,
Good
thank you.
reminder.
Yeah, I did decide, I talked with Faye about it and, did some praying and thinking about it and decided to that it was important to stay in the book of Genesis and also to have people think more about the role of the Bible in our lives. And we'll talk about that some tonight in the Bible study as well, because I want to show you in a little more detail what I mean about different sources and different editors and the evidence for that.
Yes. Great.
Well, I hope you all have a very good day.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. You too. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.